Mike, you are out of touch.
No, you're out of touch. To be honest, we may both have been out of touch. Or maybe a more gracious way to say it would be that we were mistaken about what people might not know. Because we always have new talent coming to us in the Atlanta Voiceover studio and our instructors, we always want to keep our fingers on the pulse of the questions that they may have. Like what ideas or expectations about voiceover they may have as they start out. So we reached out to 3 people who are crushing it in VO but are still new to the industry. Plus, the extra bonus is that they engineer our beginner voiceover intensive classes each week. So they hear the questions people have firsthand. Plus, they're also there for the aha moments. John Bertullo, Gabby Naylor, and Adelio Diaz. Each of them gave us some myths that they have to dispel each week. And they're so good and so many, we're going to have part 2 coming up in a few weeks. If you're keeping track, that means this is part 1. So before we get to the myths, if you're enjoying these videos, since I don't have a sponsor for this page and well, I don't have to talk about any products that you may or may not want to hear about, I'd appreciate it if you gave the video a like and you subscribed and maybe shared it with somebody else who needs it. Just helps me keep these things coming to you every week. Thanks in advance. Okay, so here are the myths that our engineers encounter every week. 5 voiceover myths busted.
Myth number 1. The most expensive mic in a fancy booth is the only way to go.
Or bottom line, you gotta spend tons of cash. Fact. Expensive doesn't always mean better. John says, the study of acoustics is a literal science. By learning some basics about acoustics and sound treatment, you can learn how to get your space sounding great without needing to win the lottery to do it. And I couldn't agree more. You can have a U87, but it doesn't mean you're going to sound good. And why is that? And engineers all over the world have talked about this. Treating your space acoustically with sound panels, or other stuff depending on where your space is what's going to make your recording sound fantastic. The right acoustic treatment for your space is the name of the game. And so whether you're figuring out your home studio right now, or down the road, as you're looking at equipment, make sure you put the same amount of energy and time into looking at acoustic treatment and the right acoustic treatment for your space. The goal of acoustic treatment is to make your recording environment sound more neutral and sonically pleasing, like no bouncing of your voice. It's a way to control the space. Acoustic treatment is done by mounting absorption or diffusion devices in areas where problematic reflections occur. We can make it sound way more scientific than that, but that's the gist of it. So if you have a fantastic and inexpensive mic like the Rode NTG1, and then you have a recording space that's acoustically treated well with the right treatment, you could sound like $1,000,000. And that mic is only a couple $100. The most expensive mics are nice to have, but they're not necessary. For us here at the Atlanta Voiceover Studio and ProVoiceoverTraining.com, we try to help you figure out what's the best route for your budget and for your voice. We cover all this and more in our home studio setup course with Gopal Swami of Acoustech in Atlanta. I'll link it in the notes if you need help. Or you can schedule a home studio consultation with Dan Friedman. Or join one of our dog classes like Learn Adobe Audition or Learn Audacity or even Learn Pro Tools. Each of them covers a bit of the acoustic treatment. We also have a kit with certain breakdowns of different microphones at different price points and preamps and other pieces of equipment, just to help you. I'll link that too. Or if you could get into a mic shootout at a studio close to where you are, or if you're in Atlanta, you could join us here. That'll help as well. Just make sure wherever you go for the mic shootout that they can give you less expensive microphone options for your budget. Microphone shootouts aren't necessary, but it's a great way to try out some microphones if that's your jam. We started it here at the studio because people started asking for it, so we put it together. And now we've added to it with extra stuff to help you in your home studio.
Myth number 2. When you get an agent, you will work consistently.
Fact. Agents provide opportunities, but that does not guarantee work. Gabby says, I have 3 agents that I'm so grateful for because they work their butts off to deliver opportunities for me to work. But for me, it depends on my marketing skills and growing my network to get consistent work. So true. And this is why we encourage you to get multiple agents. It simply provides you more opportunities. More opportunities increase your chances of booking more. It's simple math, which I need. And this is also why we created the Agent Rep Prep class to help you learn what agents are looking for and for how to share more of you in those email submissions rather than voice talent seeking representation. If I had a nickel for however many times people emailed us that, oh, I'd be rich. Those come in, boop, delete. Our Agent Rep Prep class is live via Zoom or on demand at ProVoiceoverTraining.com. I'll link both if you finally want to get some quality agents on your team. Myth number 3.
You need to have a great voice to be a voice actor.
Fact. The voice is only about 10%. Here's Adelio's take. The reality when it comes to voice acting is that it's less about how you sound and what you can do with your voice to bring the client's vision to life. Everybody's voice is unique and clients may not realize what you bring to the table with your voice. That may be precisely what they're looking for, but won't know until they actually hear it. True that. More than ever in commercial audition breakdowns, we're seeing the words non-announcery or imperfect voice. There's just not a standard for what your voice should sound like anymore. You don't need to sound like the 1950s, which is good. Human, real, and authentic is where it's at, which is great news for everyone. But where we as voice actors still need to train is the acting part. Acting is the key. Can't just get that from a YouTube channel. Get into acting classes, get into improv, get into voice acting classes, wherever it may be. Invest in yourself. You're running a voiceover business. You remember?
Myth number 4. You get paid really quickly for jobs.
Fact. This depends on the company and contract. John says, often payment can take a while to get from the buyer to you, even more so if you add agents in between. Even and especially when you begin booking jobs, they can take a long time to pay out. Be prepared for this by having enough in savings to allow you to continue paying your bills while waiting for jobs to pay you. It can also be helpful to have diversified income streams within VO, like working on audiobooks and e-learning, as well as commercials or animation, instead of only just one of those. Spot on, John. If you're in this business for any amount of time, you're going to see payment terms like net 30, net 60, 90. Some, even the bigger companies like Coca-Cola and Home Depot, they're at net 120. In case you're not mathing right now, that's 4 months. This means that once the project is completed and processed, it can take that many days to issue the payment. And of course, I'm talking non-union here. Now you, 99.9999% of the time, aren't going to have any trouble with agents and payments and whatnot because they've got that on lockdown. Myth number 5 is from Gabby.
Voiceover is not real acting.
Fact. Voiceover is voice acting, hence acting. Gabby says, interpreting copy or sides to communicate to an audience can only be acting. Every VO talent should take acting classes and learn the basics of storytelling. Oh, and this is key too, especially as the threat of AI looms above us. Being a great actor is what sets us apart from AI. So take those acting classes. Read great books on storytelling like Robert McKee's Story. I'll link it in the notes. Take improv classes. Immerse yourself in imaginary circumstances, and then see how much it influences you when you're in the booth recording. That's it for part 1. Got part 2 coming up in a couple weeks, but thanks to John, Gabby, and Adelio for helping us out with this. Hopefully you learned some good stuff. Our goal at the Atlanta Voiceover Studio and ProVoiceoverTraining.com is to equip, elevate, and inspire you in your voiceover journey. Cheers to your voiceover success.